Hello, good evening. As you can see, I'm not Adam, I'm me. And this is the first Arsenal review. We've had a few issues this evening trying to get things organised, but Adam is with us and he will be joining the show. And Steve's coming in as well. We are going to look at pre-season. We are going to look at the Community Shield, a good victory for Arsenal. And we're going to obviously preview the start of the Premier League season, which, of course, is this weekend. And we play Nottingham Forest. So it's all going to be coming up the other side of this brand new little introduction. That's very quick. As if by magic, Adam's here. Look, there he is. I told you he was coming, so don't worry. He's with us. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. How you doing? Evening. That was a very short new intro, but I like it.
Well, it's just short and sweet. Get it out of the way, because I just think sometimes the intros go on too long on other channels I've seen, and you think just get started on the show. And so I thought I'd do a quick.
It's all good. It's all good, mate.
Yeah, so it's good. I mean, obviously, it's been a while since we've all got together. I've sort of taken a break from the men's team really over the summer, just because, well, not much has been going on apart from pre-season. And I think, you need a break every so often anyway, don't you? So it's all back with us again. We had the Community Shield, which was great fun. And obviously the start of the new season, which of course we're all excited about. I mean, if we start obviously with the transfer window first, because it's still ongoing and we've had a fair bit of movement. And in fact, we've got a comment from Emerson in the chat who says, he says, evening, yeah, Adam's here, as you can see. And the guest is sort of me. I'm sort of a guest and I'm not a guest tonight, but anyway. Obviously, he says, breaking news on the Raya transfer, as it will be a loan deal and will sign permanently next season, 3 million loan fee and 27 to conclude the transfer. Now, that's quite interesting, isn't it? Is that because we've got no money now?
So I think it's one of two things. Like, again, I saw this break about half an hour ago or so, maybe a little bit earlier. And I think we can either look at it two ways. One, we're bending the financial fair play rules. Actually, one of three things, sorry. One, we're playing the financial fair play rules, like Chelsea have done with their extended contracts. I think it could be a way of, bending that a little bit to our favour, because obviously we have spent quite a bit this summer, and now it'll only be a 3 million outlay in the majority next summer. So it could be an element of that. I do know that Brentford are pretty stable. They don't really need the cash up front by all accounts. They're a very well stable run club, which is great for them. I think the other theory could be the fact that we're having problems offloading players. The fact that we can't sell players to get the funds to do it now, which is potentially worrying, because obviously they are still players we're looking to get off the books. Or, which I would like it to be, we've still got work to do with players coming in, and we're conserving those cash, pots for that. I think it's got to be one of those three things. I mean, I might be wrong with all of them, but those are the three things that kind of immediately leapt out to me, because it's a weird one, really. It's not one you expected. Obviously, we saw Matt Turner 10 million today, decent return, and obviously it was obvious we were going to get David Raya in after that, but I think no one really saw it as being this kind of loan to buy. But
no, it is. I mean, the first I heard about it, funny enough, was when I saw Emerson's comment just before the show started, because I've been a bit busy this evening, having a chance to kind of check any news. I'd heard this afternoon that we'd got David Raya transfer done. I wasn't aware it was a loan until just then, so that's been news to me. And you're right. I mean, it could be we want to keep some funds available for other incomings, which we've got our fingers crossed on that one, because I still think we're one or two short, one particularly, one which we'll come on to in a minute. And is it a financial fair play thing? It could be. We spent a lot of money this summer, as it is, haven't we? So, we can't just keep splashing out money right, left and centre, because you're not, I know some clubs seem to, but that's not what we can do. So, there's that potential as well. So you're right. It could be a combination of all three of those things, actually, couldn't it? All three of those factors could be part of it. And we'll find out more in the next few weeks, I guess, when the transfer window shuts, whether or not we were saving money back for other incomings or selling players. I still think more people are going to leave, because we haven't really got rid of anybody yet.
I mean, we've only really got, money for Xhaka, Trusty, obviously Matt Turner, but I still think there's others that obviously we want to move on. Which just haven't happened. I think Balogun's going to be the one who probably get us a bigger chunk, which I think is pretty obvious now. It doesn't look like he's going to get a way in, at all now, which is unfortunate. I would have liked to have seen him got a chance personally. But again, he's at a market now where he had a good season last year, and we can sell him for between 30 and 40 million. So you'd be stupid not to, really, because he could completely falter next year, which I hope he doesn't. I wish him well. But, now is a premium time to sell him and get decent money. So I understand it from a business perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we've got players like Rob Holding, never going to really play much now with Timber coming in and Saliba back. So you'd imagine he's probably going to, not that we'll get a lot of money in for him probably, but someone will take him off our hands, I'm sure. I think 2 or 3 others, Nicolas Pepe, there's talk of him going, isn't there? Maybe
talking about ripping up his contract. No one's going to pay money for him, are they? Unfortunately.
Well, I don't see why they wouldn't. But I mean, he's a player. It's crazy what we've done with our previous contracts, that we've had to basically pay players to leave, and we've done it a few times in the last few years, haven't we? Which hasn't helped the rebuild, has it? Because it's cost us money that we could have done with elsewhere. That's going to help boost the team and the squad. But I mean, that is very strange. And obviously there'll be reasons behind a loan. I mean, what do you make of it in terms of, obviously, David Raya coming in? He's a very, very good goalkeeper. He's very, very good with a ball at his feet as well, which kind of suits the style. Has he been brought in to replace Ramsdale as number one, or is it simply competition? What do you think?
I didn't see it coming. When I first saw it broke, it was a bit of a weird one, because there was no, until sort of a week or so ago, there was no inclination that we were going to be going after another keeper this window, because I thought Matt Turner had done all right when he came in. As an understudy, I thought, pretty solid. I had no real concerns. And then it was a bit weird. I mean, is it a case that, obviously, like you said, David Raya, past couple of seasons, been a great keeper, very comfortable at his feet. I think it was it Klopp who said that, he could play as a number 10. He's that good out on his feet. I mean, I don't particularly listen to much of what Klopp says, but that's decent praise, talking about that. Yeah. But it's a weird one, because I would like to know what's been said to him, because you're not going to accept moving clubs to go be a number 2. I'm sorry. You've been first choice with Brentford since they've been in the Premier League. You've established yourself. You've got a good reputation. You had the chance to go to Bayern Munich, as well. So there's no way that he's coming just as a number 2. And again, I if they're going to do it, I'd like to kind of come in and say, right, there's no automatic number 1. Like, you're going to fight for your place and do it that way, and then see them kind of fight it out, because it's not often at a club you get 2 real good number 1s. I mean, Man United potentially had it with Dean Henderson and David De Gea recently. That's probably the most recent one I can think of, to mind. There probably has been more down the years, but usually what happens is one of them will get pushed out, further down the line. One of them will have an absolute shocker. Someone will come in, they'll do really well, and they'll keep their place. I mean, I do think you need the strength. It's, is it going to be a case that one of them will play the Champions League and the Cup games? Because obviously there's going to be more games next year. It's not just going to be domestic Cup. We are going to have Champions League games, like kind of like Turner did last year. So is it going to be a case of that? But again, would either of them just accept that? And again, initially they were talking about 30 million fee, which it could be in total. That's a lot of money to pay for a number 2. That's a lot of money to pay for a number 2 goalkeeper.
That's exactly my fault. Yeah, exactly that.
If you're Ramsdale, you've got to be a bit concerned. But at the same time, Arteta seems to have backed Ramsdale, to the hilt. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's strange, but I'm all for competition. Especially in the goalkeeper, they need to be kept on their toes, because, it's no good having an understudy who is far below the number 1's ability, because they're just safe then and they get complacent. Whereas now, that ain't going to happen. So it's a good problem to have. Whether you can keep them both happy is another thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a very similar situation, wasn't it, when we actually bought Ramsdale, because Leno was the number 1. Leno started that season as number 1, didn't he? And Ramsdale came in for a Carabao Cup tie against West Brom. And then I think Leno played one more game, that 5-0 defeat at Man City. And then Ramsdale took over, didn't he, very quickly into the season. And then in the end, obviously, Leno was number 2 for that season and ended up leaving. And I can see a similar situation now. I think Ramsdale will start the season as number 1, because that's what will happen. We've only brought David Raya in today, so he's definitely not going to start on Saturday, is he? He's going to be on the pitch. And I think Ramsdale will start the first couple of games in the Premier League, and then we may well see what happens. The Champions League will kick in, you know, the group games, and you imagine Raya will start those games there if he hasn't started in the Premier League by then, and then go from there. But I don't think we're going to spend 30 million if that's what the top is going to be on a backup goalkeeper. We just don't do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Raya becomes a number one this season and Ramsdale leaves at the end of the season and we buy a number two.
Similar money to what we paid for Ramsdale, isn't it? It's similar money to what we paid for Ramsdale.
Exactly.
We got, I think he was 32 million of that Ramsdale. So it's similar money. It's an interesting one. I don't necessarily. I think Ramsdale has made mistakes, but he has also kept us in games, especially last year. He has also made some complete, world-class saves, 2 keepers in games. But he's a little hot-headed, and I always thought that if he could get that out of his game, he could be a real serious keeper, not just for Arsenal, but higher up. But he's still young, but they're both young keepers now, and they've both got years ahead of them. I mean, it's a very interesting thing to look at. And again, I think, it's only strengthening the squad. It's only really strengthening that squad. So, yeah, completely didn't see it coming, but not opposed to the idea.
I'm definitely not opposed to David Raya coming in. I think he's a very, very good goalkeeper. And a couple of years ago, when we were linked with him, I was really keen for us to buy him because I do think he's a very, very good goalkeeper. And he does fit the style of play, playing it out from the back that we like to do and that kind of stuff. And I don't know, he looks like the perfect fit. And whether Arteta wanted to get him before, couldn't get him, got Ramsdale in the meantime, now he's able to get David Raya. Maybe that was the plan. Who knows? We don't know, do we? I said this a few weeks ago. I felt that looking at our squad and our team in pre-season and last season as well, that with the players that we've brought in now, which have been great additions, brilliant signings, I felt we were a goalkeeper and a striker short of being able to potentially win the Premier League or be up there challenging again and, challenging for other competitions as well. It looks as though we've got the goalkeeper situation addressed, and I'm happy with that because, if it puts pressure under Ramsdale, means he's got to be more focused in games because I think he switches off too much. He does, silly concentration mistakes. Yes, he's a good goalkeeper, don't get me wrong, but I do feel as though he cost us some big points last season at crucial time by just concentration issues with him.
I think towards the end of the season, I don't know whether it was fatigue or mental fatigue, there were mistakes creeping in, not just about conceding goals, but all round play towards the end of it. And I like Ramsdale. I think he's a good keeper, but I like his personality. And I think you've got to have a personality as a keeper. I do like he does a bit of housery with the opposing fans. Maybe you should cut down on that a little bit. I don't know, but that's his kind of way. By all accounts, he seems to be very well liked in the dressing room. It does seem, and I think that's important that you have that at the back. But I'm about as confident as I ever have been with our back four for a long time right now. And for me, just strengthening that position should make that goalkeeper solidified. Whether that ups Ramsdale's game or whether Raya takes over, I think it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, it's certainly a positive. It's a positive move, isn't it? Because it's either putting Ramsdale under pressure, which might make him perform better, and if it doesn't, we've got a really good backup anyway. You can come in and be a good goalkeeper. So it's a win-win situation for us as a club. It's not necessarily a win-win situation for Aaron Ramsdale individually, but that's for him to worry about. And competition is what you need at top level. You can't not have competition. You've got to expect competition, haven't you, for your place? If you expect to be able to compete in the top level, we've got so much competition in certain other areas of the team, it makes sense to have good competition in the goalkeeping position as well, doesn't it? And let's hope that whatever happens, it proves to be a great signing either way, whether it makes Ramsdale perform better, or if not, Raya comes in and does a great job as well. So it seems like a good thing all round. Emerson says that Pepe's contract could be terminated if the buying club does not reach the valuation. Cedric is in the same situation as Pepe, and Balogun is our prize asset if we sell on, but only Monaco put bid in. I mean, I think Pepe's issue is the contract that he's on, the wages that he's on. Because he's under contract, he hasn't got to leave, has he? You know what I mean? He's the club of the players are in control.
And if you're Pepe, you wouldn't be rushing out the door. You're not getting football, but he's on huge wages and good contract. Why would you? You've got to understand it from a pure personal sense. Why would you? I mean, I'd like to. I like Pepe for some reason. I know he hasn't really done it consistently, but I still think there's potential to do something off the bench there. when Saka's tiring a little bit. But Arteta just doesn't seem to want him, so I don't think he's ever going to get that chance again.
No, I agree, and I do feel as though it's best all round if he leaves for him as well, because he's getting to the point of his career where he needs to be playing every week. That's what he needs to be doing, and he's never going to play at Arsenal. It's clear he's never going to get a game at Arsenal for whatever reason. Arteta doesn't rate him, or whatever it is, we don't know. But yeah, so he needs to go, and it would be another really terrible decision by the club if we end up having to pay out another contract that we've had to do already a couple of times. And yes, Cedric as well, similar. Why can't we? Chelsea seem to be able to sell players for all kinds of money, and we struggle to get rid of our, these are some players that we paid a lot of money for that are technically top players, Mesut Ozil, Aubameyang, top players, Nicolas Pepe, and we can't sell them. We can't get rid of them. It's ridiculous.
We're obviously overpaying them the contracts, aren't we? We're obviously giving them too good a contracts that they're not, attractive to other clubs. Even though other clubs might well want them in their team and they could do a job, the contracts are obviously so, lucrative for the player that it just prices them out of the move. So we have to pay them off. I mean, I can see sometimes a theory that, you got to pay them off to, save in the long run, because if you're never going to get a fee, you might as well pay them off now and get them off the wage bill. I kind of get that to start again, but it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I mean, you talk about the Chelsea stuff. There's obviously some sort of dealings going on there with the Saudi clubs and that. But they're some of the players that have left have gone for well over market value. Let's be honest. I mean, that's another conversation.
One of the ones that we bought, for example, as well, is kind of over the market value. Really, the one that we bought from Chelsea this summer, although he's a good player.
I'm quietly confident about him.
Yeah, no, I am. I like Havertz, so we will talk about him in a minute. But yeah, I kind of like him really. Emerson says there, but been rejected a talk of 30 million, and no other closest about Balogun has come in for him, as other podcasts saying that Milan put in a bid, and nothing was said. Lokonga loan move is in jeopardy as Burnley signed a player from Sheffield United here, Sander Berge, wasn't it? So we must need to give Saka competition, as that could be our next. So yeah, I mean, I agree. We do need to give Saka not so much competition. We need to give him an option to be rested, because he's going to burn out, isn't he? So I think that's the main.
Marquinhos out on loan, isn't he? Marquinhos is going to France on loan, isn't he? Nantes for the season.
Yeah, he was out on loan last season. Norwich as well, wasn't he? So, yeah, we're getting players in. I mean, this is one thing that I know we've had a reasonably productive transfer window, and as Russ says there, he says Edu and Richard Garlick deserve their flowers regarding the Raya deal. Yeah, absolutely. And you can see we've brought in some real good players in this window. We paid a lot of money for them, but they're quality players. But you look over the last 2 or 3 years, some of the players that we've brought in, and now we can't, they can't get a game. Lokonga, who we've briefly mentioned there, Tavares looks like he's out the door as well. Cedric, another player that Arteta and Edu brought in, is obviously not going to get a game. He's gone. Pablo Mari's already left. We've had this rebuild has taken longer than it needed to do, because we bought 10, 11 players that just haven't worked out, and we've had to get rid of again. And it's that's made it take longer than it maybe needed to do. And that's something that, yes, we bought some great players in the same time as well, but we can't ignore the fact that we brought in so many players that haven't worked out. We must have brought in more not so much duff players. I think that's harsh, because I don't think this necessarily always the players. It hasn't worked out for them, has it? We bought them.
No, I think like Cedric and Mario, I think were very much brought in as stopgaps. That was the first winter. And I don't think there was much expectation. It was more a case of Arteta, I think, thought they could do a job for him in the short term. And they probably stayed longer than he would have liked, or probably would have envisaged. But again, we're probably paying over the odds wages to get them there in the first place. Like, we didn't pay big fees for them. But we are probably paying them more wages. So hence why Mari had to go on loan, Cedric's had to go on loan. When they both played, I had nothing really against them. They just weren't up to the quality that we needed. Which is one of those things. But yeah, I think towards the beginning of Arteta's tenure, there was some very, I think, signings that are just not up to the quality that we needed, but were very much stopgaps to get us around that rest of that season and become that kind of squad player. But thankfully, that has been rectified more recently. And most of the signings we've made since then have sorted it out. I mean, Lokonga's a weird one for me, because I still don't really feel like he's been given a lot of chances. he's been he's two years now, and yeah, when he did play, he looked a bit lost. But you're never going to get comfortable unless you give him the time.
Do you not feel a little bit though, Adam? Do you not feel this a little bit that Arteta is? I don't know if ruthless is the right word, but it does seem as though a player hasn't, he doesn't give players lots of opportunities, does he? If they can't do the job he needs them to do very, very quickly, he doesn't play them. You've got to look at Tomiyasu. He was brilliant when he first came in. He had a few injuries. He maybe was played when he wasn't maybe quite ready. Didn't have a great game against Man City, and that's him gone. He's never going to get a game again unless there's massive injury problems. He's about third choice right back now, isn't he? When you think Timber would be ahead of him as a right back, Ben White's ahead of him as a right back. He's probably third choice. So he's not going to play again. And this is what worries me a little bit about Arteta. He's not able to, these players obviously they need some sort of coaching or some help to be able to fit into the team and do the job, and he doesn't seem to want to do that. He just seems to think, well, I'll just get rid of you and get someone else to do it. If you're not going to do it, I'll just get someone else to do it. And I don't like that attitude. It's like that is a Man City Chelsea kind of we'll just buy someone else to replace you then. No, we work with the players that we've got, try and improve them. You bought them in the first place. You must have liked something about them to work with them and make it work with them. And if after a year it's not working, fair enough. You'd have to say, okay, move it on. But giving him 3 or 4 games, that's not enough, is it?
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I have been critical about Arteta is that he doesn't rotate enough and he hasn't given the chances to certain players. He's played players until they're absolutely burnt out and still doesn't rest them. Hopefully that will change now that we have got more quality in depth. But for me, it's about trust. He hasn't really trusted certain players like Lokonga, like Tomiyasu, really, since he's had that injury. Like, he just hasn't had that trust in them, which he's not going to breed confidence in the players. He's not going to put any confidence in them that knowing that, because they know they're not really going to get a chance, or they're going to get 10, 15 minutes here, and they're never going to be able to prove their worth or get up to speed. I mean, you go into a match and it takes you, 5, 10 minutes to get up to speed with it. You can't just get into it straight away. But that's the only thing I'm really critical of. He hasn't used the squad enough, and when he had, and he hasn't, he'd rather much rather burn players to the ground, than just kind of take them out and let other players have a chance. But so it's a weird one. I think Tomiyasu I really like still, and I still think he is the most natural right back we've got. I mean, I think it was bad luck with him that Ben White took to that position so well at the beginning of last year, because had Ben White not have had such a strong start, Tommy would have probably got back in that team, But then again, ifs and buts, there's a lot of those in the team.
Yeah, and it seems to be as though certain players just seem to fit more with Arteta's plan on the pitch than other players do. And I think the right back situation is a typical example of that. Tomiyasu was a player that Arteta bought. He was playing well to begin with. Then he was out of the team. Ben White started last season at right back, and he maybe fitted in better with the system. And Arteta thought, well, I'm not going to change it now. And I agree. He doesn't seem to trust a lot of the players. I mean, if you look at the Community Shield, for example, and I know we got the result in the end, he left it very late, didn't he, to make the changes? It was like, we were losing the game. We didn't look as though at that point we were going to get back into it. We didn't look as though we were going to score, did we, really? And you're thinking, you've got some quality players on the bench that can potentially change a game. Give them a chance. Throw them on. It's essentially a friendly. Throw them on. And it was, 5 minutes to go when he made the changes. And it worked, to be fair. The shape of the team changed.
I thought it was too late.
Forward more. And, we got the goal and we won. But, for me, he should have done that 10 minutes before he did. And he's almost reluctant to do it. He didn't want to do it. He was almost hoping, please let my first team choices get us out of this mess. And a couple of minutes to go, they're not going to. I'm going to have to do it now, or I'm going to look stupid. And he did it, and it worked.
And especially with the Community Shield, when in theory, I still see it as a glorified friendly. It is. It doesn't. No one remembers who won the Community Shield. No one actually will remember in 3 months' time, let alone at the end of the season. So, I don't really get excited about Community Shields. Yeah, it's a great game. Yeah, psychological. It might be good. But for me, like you just said, there was no reason to wait that late for it, especially in a game that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You should have made those subs earlier. You should have given people some game time. It's the start of the season this week. Now's the time. In a kind of, it is a competitive game. I mean, even still, I thought the first hour was very pedestrian for both teams, really. So there was no real need to wait that long. Do you know what I mean? And in the end, like you said, it kind of worked out. But it was a bit, yeah. Again, it didn't kind of make much sense to me. I wouldn't have wanted to see wholesale changes like half time change half the team, but I would have liked to have seen some logical substitutions at least.
Exactly, and a bit earlier in the game. I mean, one of the things I've noticed in the pre-season games, I didn't watch them all live. Some of the kickoff times are a bit all over the place. I watched highlights and stuff like that. But the one thing that I felt in pre-season that Arteta did experiment with a few different players in different positions, tried a few different things, and I think he felt as though it didn't work. And looking at some of the performances and some of the results, you could kind of agree to a certain degree that it maybe didn't work always. But you can't just try something in a couple of friendlies or during bits and friendlies and just dismiss it out of hand. So suddenly we played a Community Shield, which yes is a friendly, but it is a competitive friendly. And he kind of played what I believe is going to be very, very similar to the starting 11 that plays against Nottingham Forest. And even, with 88 minutes played, we'd only made one substitution, I think, at 88 minutes. And it's like, if you can't make them in a friendly in preparation for the season, when are you going to make, you tried a bit of different things in pre-season, which I kind of liked, even though it didn't always work. I kind of liked the fact he was doing it. And I was hoping we'd see some different, but from what I saw on Sunday, not a lot really had changed. Yes, so a couple of better players in the team potentially. Declan Rice, of course, is going to be a great player. We all know that. I think Havertz, as we touched on before, I think he's going to be a really good addition. I don't think he's going to play every game. He's going to be a rotated player, isn't he? Like a few of them in that midfield. And obviously Timber looks a fantastic defender, doesn't he? Brilliant. So we've made some good signings and we've improved individual players. We haven't really got the depth improved much. So everybody's like, we've got 3 good players in and a goalkeeper now. We've lost a goalkeeper. We've lost 2 other kind of squad players. Are we any? Yes, maybe the quality of the players that's come in are better than the players that's left. So we've strengthened in that sense, but not in terms of numbers, have we? The squad isn't any bigger.
I agree with that. That's the weird thing. So everyone's saying we've got to improve the squad, but you do need numbers as well. But then again, Arteta doesn't use numbers, so do we need them?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. That's right.
So maybe that's the reason. Doesn't want the numbers. He wants that quality, closer knit squad.
Maybe he does. And I don't know. I some I want to go into this season, and what's gone on in the past has gone on in the past. We had a decent season in the end last year. We didn't win anything. It was frustrating. We kind of blew it a little bit at the end, but we got a lot of points, a lot of goals, and it was a positive season overall compared to the previous 2 or 3. So I want to give Arteta the benefit of the doubt, but what I've seen so far in pre-season, it worries me that, for example, he brought Trossard in and he doesn't seem to trust him enough. And yet Trossard's a player who makes a difference in games. He makes a difference.
I mean, Trossard's stats when he come last season were astounding. Second half of the season, leading assists. He only scored 1 goal, but leading assists. But it was also the pass before the assist was really key for him as well. But not so much that. He's lively. When he comes on, he doesn't stop moving. He causes defensive problems, and he can play anywhere along those front 3 or just behind the striker. I think it was such a shrewd signing. In the end, we got him because we lost out on Mudryk. But I mean, I was well happy that we got him, and money-wise, looks a real steal. But again, I mean, I'd like him to trust him more. I would like him to trust him more because he does cause problems. And I think towards the end of the season and also in pre-season, one of the things I've realised, kind of some teams have sussed out how to play against us now. Whereas the first half of last season, we were great, let's be honest. We had some great football. We were playing a kind of new way of football that, with the inverted players, with the coverage, that kind of stuff. But towards the end of the season, I thought it was a mixture of not rotating the squad and a mixture of players getting tired. But it was also the fact that teams had learned how to play against us and how to shut us down. And I do think in pre-season, the Man United friendly especially was apparent, and also City for long periods as well. They now know how to. Obviously, you've got to have the players to do it, and not every team is going to have the players to be able to shut us down, thankfully. But when you are coming against the more shrewd managers, they are going to frustrate us, and we are going to have times this year where we are going to get frustrated. And that's where we are going to have to turn to our bench and hopefully have that other people who can come in and break things down. Your Trossards, your Havertz, that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that that's why he's bought these kind of players to be able to do this further down the line, because I do think that was one of our problems, like last 10 games of last season where we wasn't as fluent. I think it wasn't the fact just that they were tired. It was the fact that teams, to be fair to the other teams, had learnt to play against us and they had been watching us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that. It is. We are becoming a little bit predictable because everybody knows how we're going to play, how we're going to set our players up. Everybody knows now the positions that the players are going to be in. It does. Yes, you're right. Not everybody's got the players who, even if you know what's going to happen, having the players to be able to stop it is a different story. And a lot of the teams in the Premier League don't have. So it's not going to always be a problem. But when it matters against the better teams, they do have the players. They do have the managers who can figure it out quite easily. And you could see that was a problem. And I don't know. We bought some, different players. When you think about it, obviously Xhaka's gone. He was an important player for us. And, we brought in potentially Havertz, who might be playing in that position. Declan Rice, actually, later on in the game on Sunday, kind of played that position. I thought he looked quite good there.
I thought Rice would be the natural, for that Xhaka role, that box-to-box midfielder, being able to carry the ball. I saw him as an upgrade. I like Xhaka, that. I'm glad that he left on having such a good season last year. I thought, that was the right way for him to go. And I do see Declan Rice as that kind of, more forward playing midfielder rather than a kind of, sitting midfielder. But he could definitely do it.
Oh no, exactly. Yeah, and the fact that we have got, we touched on it before, don't we? Quite versatile players that can play in 2 or 3 different positions, different roles in the team.
Like, don't they? They're the players Arteta seems to like.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, because he wants that, and I suppose in a way, we're saying about the predictability, and yes, we do appear to be quite predictable at times. The fact that he can maybe move players within the same 11, he can move them into slightly different roles in the team during a game, is maybe something that does give us an edge in a lot of games. And it did work very well, as we said, for half of last season, certainly. But yeah, now we've got better players coming into the team, into that starting 11. Maybe that's what we've needed to be able to carry out the plan, Arteta's master plan of the way he wants to play. And
I'm really looking forward to Saturday, though, to see how we do line up and how we do go for it. Because pre-season, again, I don't think you can read an awful lot. I think more's gone on a training pitch than it has on the actual games, because again, Arteta's not going to want to give too much away, about how we're going to approach the season. In pre-season, he'll try players out and stuff, but most teams won't play the same way they have in pre-season when they kick off on Saturday. They'll all be planning it behind the scenes because they want to surprise players. They want to surprise teams. So it'll be really interesting to see the lineup and who plays where. Because, like you said, we have got players who can play a number of positions. So even if you see the lineup, it might be hard to place where they're going to go.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that is a big advantage that we've got. But there are still obviously doubts about certain aspects of Mikel Arteta's management of the team and the players, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong for anybody to have those doubts, because I think they're quite clear, and it's no good just blindly ignoring them and just saying, well, it's fine. We've progressed over the last 2 or 3 years, and we have. Let's ignore the issues that have maybe been holding us back or taking us as long as it's got to be in this position, where we could have been in this position 2 years ago, potentially, if we'd able to do that rebuild a bit quicker, or maybe we hadn't wasted time on players that weren't going to work out, which we seemed to do a lot of that, didn't we? Really, but I say for me now, what's in the past is in the past, and what I want to see is not necessarily a different Arsenal this season, because for much of last season that was a very good Arsenal. I was quite happy with it, but I want to see an Arsenal that we can really not. I still feel as though, even if we're top of the table in March again, my overriding feeling will probably be, unless I've seen something different on the pitch, that we're going to probably collapse at the end of the season again. That's my feeling at the moment. I know as the season goes on, it might be different. We might see a different side to Arsenal. But even last season, when we were flying in the first half of the season, my overriding feeling was, when the pressure's on, can this team cope? And I was worried if they would or they wouldn't. I said it on the channel loads of times. And unfortunately, in the end, when it mattered, we couldn't. I want to see that to be different this year. Whether we win the league or whether we don't, whether we win a big trophy or whether we don't, I want to see that change in mentality almost at the crucial moments in the season, in the crucial moments in games, even sometimes. And the signs have been reasonably good in pre-season. I thought Saturday, we kept going till the end. How serious Man City were taking it, I don't know. It doesn't matter. No. You can only play with the teams in front of you, and we finished the game strongly. I remember a couple of years ago saying on the channel that there's been games we were 1-0 down and we didn't throw everything at it. We just seemed to pass sideways, backwards, keep the ball, do nothing to get ourselves back in the game. At least on Sunday, we did everything in that last 10 minutes of injury time to get a goal. And you felt it was coming. I felt it was going to come. You felt we're going to probably score in a minute. You just we had that momentum built up. And that's what you want to see in games that you're losing, especially against a better team. Go for it. And we did. And we were rewarded and we got the goal. And in the end, won it on penalties. So that's a positive sign for me. But I want to see that happen a lot more through the season, definitely. We've got Turfboard TV. Dan, how you doing? Back in the Premier League. Good to see you. Look forward to a couple of games against you guys this season. He says, speaking of loans, any news on Lokonga from the Arsenal side? Well, yeah, obviously, I think a loan for Lokonga to Burnley makes a lot of sense. I think Adam, you may have said that last year, mightn't you, about Lokonga going to Burnley?
I said it about this time last year. Rumbles of Lokonga to Burnley. Ended up going to Palace in January. But again, like Emerson said earlier, now Burnley have got Sander Berger. I don't quite see where Lokonga would fit in now. They haven't released a fee for Sander Berger, but I can't imagine that was cheap. He's a good player. Surprised that he didn't move on last season when they got relegated, to be fair, and stay in the Premier League. I think that's quite a shrewd signing, to be fair. I don't know. I think Lokonga's obviously is surplus to requirements. Company knows him. It makes sense for me. It makes sense. But I mean, you tell us, do you need Lokonga now? You still need him?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, like you said, they've made that signing now as a player in a virtually same position that they've paid a lot of money for. So, yeah. But, yeah, you're right. Obviously, Vincent Kompany does know him, and that always seemed like a strong link, didn't it, before? Lokonga needs to go somewhere, whether it's on loan, but we'll see. Dan says we are still light in midfield, but rumour is 12 million for. Is it 12 million? Is it? Well, that's
decent money. That's not bad.
It's a lot of money for Burnley, but
yeah,
I mean, if you're still light in midfield and you need another body, then that would make sense, wouldn't it? But I don't know. Yeah, he'd probably do a decent job for you guys if you got him for a season on loan. But I don't know whether there's no talk from our end that we're hearing anything concrete about what's happening with Lokonga, other than he's not going to play for us this season, is he? So he needs to go somewhere, whether it's a loan, whether it's a sale, whatever it is. Loki's in the chat. And Loki says money ruins some people. I think money ruins most people, mate, to be honest with you. But yeah, it certainly ruins some people more than others. I think that's true. Terry says, who's going to pay 100,000 a week for Holding or Eddie apart from Arteta? Well, no one's going to pay 100 grand a week for either of those two players apart from where they are at the minute, which is why it's going to be very difficult to get rid of them, isn't it? Not just them, other players as well. Terry says, who would have thought Chelsea would have got 45 million more than Havertz is worth? See, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think it's 45 million. Yeah, it's a lot of money for Havertz. There's no doubt about that. I mean, obviously, Terry's brought him up. Why don't we talk about Havertz then? Because there seems to be a lot of criticism when we bought him, and even in some of the games that he's played, there seems to be a lot of criticism of him. I actually think he's a good player, and I think it's a good signing. Expensive signing, overpriced, yes, but a good player to have. What have you made of his performances so far in pre-season?
So I was really happy when we got him because I think he's a good player. I think that Chelsea weren't necessarily playing him in the best position to get the best out of him. So when he signed for Chelsea, he was very much a number 10, number 8, attacking midfielder for Leverkusen, and he was kind of scoring goals, creating goals from that advanced midfield role. Whereas Chelsea just seemed to stick him straight up top as like your main kind of striker. And he did score goals. I remember he did score goals with Chelsea in that role, but it weren't natural to him. It wasn't that natural. And I know he can play across the way, but I think that if we play him in the right role, he could be a real diamond. I mean, he's electrified pace. I mean, that's one of the things that you don't really look at because he's quite tall and looks quite languid, but he's really fast. You get him on a 1-to-1, he's got the beating of people. It's hard to judge him on pre-season because, again, he's been played in a few different positions. One of the things I was really encouraged about was on Sunday. yeah, he missed a couple of chances, but he got in those chances. He got in those positions, and I think that's that's probably 90% is getting in those positions. And once
He's
he
not a
can't,
natural goal scorer, is he? He's not a natural
no,
goal scorer, so he's not going to take every chance he gets, is he? Because that's not
exactly.
what he's best at.
But if once you get used to playing, once you calm down, got to remember he's playing at Wembley, new club, that kind of stuff. You know, if he's getting in those positions and he's finding that space, he's going to start putting chances away if he's going to play in that role. And I do think he will start up top with Jesus not available. I do think that's where he will start. And I was encouraged with the fact that he was getting in those positions. Yeah, he didn't score them, but more often than not, you will score those as a striker. You will get used to putting those in, and it will become second nature. At first, I was a bit confused as to why we signed him, because I see him as an Odegaard is quite similar, and I don't think Odegaard's positions in the team's are any threat. And like you said, he's an expensive squad player, so I do think there's a role in mind for him. Obviously, people have talked about him playing alongside Odegaard with Rice at the back, but I don't think that gives us enough defensive coverage. So I don't know if that will necessarily work. So I think you could potentially see those three play against the weaker teams in the league on paper anyway, especially at home games. But I do see him potentially dropping out for away games, giving way to someone like Partey, that kind of stuff. But I'm happy. I think it definitely strengthens our squad. And I'm quite excited to see where he plays and what we can get out of him.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't think you can ever have too many good players in your squad if they're used properly. So yeah, let's see how it goes. But yeah, I think he's a talented player, and if we can get the best
out of him as well, you know what I mean? Scored the winner in the Champions League final. He's got some good experience behind him.
He has, and he's a quality player. And if we can get the best out of him, he's going to be a really good signing. And maybe in a year's time, we won't be thinking we paid too much money for him. Potentially, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, he's got a little bit to prove because of the transfer fee and the fact that he didn't always set the world on fire at Chelsea, as indeed a lot of their players haven't done in the last couple of years. So be interesting to see. I'm quite excited to see how he gets on this season. But yeah, I was encouraged by Sunday. I thought he pressed the ball really well. I thought he did a really good job for the team. And yes, he should have scored the second.
Very good. Hold up plays very good. And again, if you use him as that kind of like false nine, which I think is probably one of his best positions, that false nine number 10 role, he could do a job. And whether you play him alongside a striker or you don't have like Spain used to play, just a false nine, I think he could do that. And he could bring in your Martinelli and your Saka, Odegaard coming from the middle. He could do that. So yeah, I mean, I think he got a lot of stick because he does look like a lazy player. Let's be honest. When he plays football, he looks like lazy. But it doesn't mean he's not doing stuff. That's just his style. And there's been a lot of players over the years who have had that kind of style who have got a lot of stick. But let's judge him after a few games, Not now.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree with that. I mean, I think some people have been too quick to jump on him because he's come from Chelsea, and we've had a few duds from Chelsea over the years, I suppose. But yeah, I want to see how he gets on because I think he could be a really good player for us this season, a really important player as well. With the Champions League and what have you as well, the experience he's got, as you said before, and I think that could be important. So you can't get enough. And what I like as well, and I've said this pretty much every summer for years, that I like to see us sign players that have already got Premier League experience, that don't have to spend a year, 18 months settling in. That straight away they know the league. They know what's expected. And look what we've done. Three of our four signers, if you take David Raya as one as well, are all Premier players from other Premier League clubs. We bought Trossard in January from a Premier League club. These, to me, are good signings. That's what I want to see a lot more.
That's also why you're paying over the odds potentially, because you always pay more from Premier League clubs. And
you do.
And from a competitor. It's going to happen.
And it's probably worth it in some cases, isn't it? Because you get that you haven't got to worry about them settling into the league or a different country and moving and stuff like that. So I think the last couple of transfer windows on that side of things have been really good. And I've wanted us to do that more over the recent years anyway, because I think it's almost less of a gamble. All signings are gambles, let's be honest, every single one. But it's almost less of a gamble if they're a Premier League player already, a Premier League proven player. If they play in the Champions League as well, even better. If you've got someone like Declan Rice who's won a European trophy, then you can't go far wrong. You're making good signings that we needed. So I'm not too disappointed with any of the signings that we've made. And let's hope that there is still one more in particular. As Terry says there, haven't we needed a centre forward for about 3 seasons and still not brought one in? Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because Mikel Arteta has been in nearly 4 years. He's only brought one technically striker player, which is Jesus, and he's not a proper striker, is he?
No.
He's more of a line as well.
You could say tells me Arteta wants a certain type of player, like Jesus, Havertz. They're not that out and out striker. He wants to play a certain type of football, so we are buying a certain type of player. You know, if we wanted to go out and buy an out and out striker, there are plenty on the market. You know, Vlahovic at Juventus would be the obvious one, that kind of striker. But he hasn't gone for that. He's gone for more of a more rounded players, a link-up player is what I'd call them, really.
Yeah, but it's like I would like, again, coming back to maybe a plan B, I would like Arteta to at least have somebody on the bench that if plan A isn't working and it won't work and it hasn't worked in games last season, then you can throw, you know, I remember in the World Cup when Holland were playing Argentina, they were 2-0 down. They threw on 2 big lumps up front, got it back to 2-2.
That Weghorst, you made a difference.
And he got 2 goals. Yeah, so you've got that option, and I'm not saying we should get a player like Weghorst or a similar type of style of centre forward to play every week. No, you have them on the bench, and they can come on in important moments in games and get you back into a game, turn a game around for you, and you know, change your tactics slightly, get the ball into the box, put crosses in rather than going to the byline and pulling it back, which is what we tend to do all the time now, and just something different. And that's what I'd like to see. But it's not going to happen because it hasn't happened, has it? It hasn't happened so far, and it isn't going to happen anytime soon. I don't think, because if he was going to do that, Arteta he would have had a player like that already, wouldn't he? He would have bought one.
We would have done it by now. We would have gone like Ivan Toney a year ago or something like that. Do you know what I mean? We would have done it by now.
Yeah, of course he would. So I don't think he's going to, personally, and I think we're not going to buy. If we do buy another forward player, it won't be a centre forward type player. It will be another number 10 or a false 9 or somebody like that. It will be that kind of player. You know, now Jesus is injured, he might.
Well, again, if we were going to buy a player, we'd give Balogun a go, wouldn't we? That's the thing. If we were going to go for that kind of striker, you've got one in Balogun now who, you know, could probably do that. Who will let him go?
And he can't get a game.
That kind of settles that argument, if there is an argument, really. That's why I always think everyone's talking about we need this kind of striker. It's not going to happen. We've got Balogun, you know. He would get in that team if that's the kind of striker we were looking for.
It's the player that we want as fans. It isn't the player that Arteta wants as a coach. That's what it is, isn't it? You know, we can want a big centre forward, a proper centre forward, all we like, but it's probably not going to happen because Arteta doesn't want that sort of player. It's obvious. Frankie's in the chat here. Frankie says we are a big club and we'll be competing in 4 competitions, and we have too many like-for-like attacking players. We need an out-and-out goal scorer. So, yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you, Frankie. 100% agree with you. But Arteta doesn't agree with you, and unfortunately, it's his decision that is more important because he's the one who's going to pick the players that we need to buy, and he's not going to pick that sort of player, unfortunately. Frankie says, yes, we spent big money on Lokonga, Vieira, Havertz. Yeah, we spent big money on. I mean, Lokonga wasn't that big money, but that's not worked out. Vieira, yeah, pretty big money for him, not really worked out as yet. Havertz, we don't know. Let's not judge Havertz yet until he's played at least half a season or more before we can decide if it's a waste of money or not. Terry says, if Havertz was a second-hand car that kept breaking down, would you buy it? Well, you know, but he's not keep breaking down, is he? You know, he's doing okay so far. And let's wait and see how he goes. He's certainly not a second-hand car, is he? He's more of a
lot of money for a second-hand car, 67 million.
Well, these electric cars are expensive, aren't they? That's the thing, isn't it? So maybe he's a second-hand electric car. Maybe that's what he is. And he's charging up every so often. That's probably what it is. Frankie says, we ain't got what we need out and out goals. Well, no, we do. I agree, Frankie. We all agree with you. We do. Every single one of us agrees with you, apart from the one person who matters in the whole equation, and that's the manager. And he doesn't want that sort of player, unfortunately. I would love to see a 25-goal striker, 25, 30-goal striker. I'd love to see us buy one. And, you know, we had one when Arteta arrived, and he soon kind of changed that, didn't he? So it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Russ says, still don't know why we signed Havertz. Massive gamble. I think all signings are gambles because you never know if a player's 100% going to work. And when you spend a lot of money on a player, it's even more of a gamble. And it is a gamble. Why have we signed him? I think because he's versatile. I think he can fill in for Jesus. He can fill in midfield a bit deeper. And he's got that kind of, he gives us other options in the midfield, attacking midfield area, doesn't he? If Ødegaard was to get injured, he could play that sort of role as well, couldn't he? So, that's why we've signed him. It is a gamble for the money, but let's see. Let's see how he gets on. Terry says, I still think we're 2 or 3 players short. Not run of the mill, I promise him. We need class acts now. Yeah, and I think you can see, can't you? Over the last year, the players that we've bought, there's been a transition, hasn't there, from younger players like Tavares and Lokonga, players of that kind of ilk, young players coming in. We've now started to buy established players, haven't we? The Declan Rice, Havertz, Trossard, these established type of players that we've needed in the squad. And all that to me has been a positive. The last year or so has been positive in transfer front, definitely. We've bought
100%.
the right players that we needed, 100%. And let's just hope that they all work out. Terry says, very polite way to put it, Russ, talking about Havertz there. Let's not get on Havertz back quite yet. Well, let's not get on his back at all. Hopefully we won't need to. Frankie says, how about... I can't see that comment now. He says, how about Lukaku on loan? He would link up well with Jesus. Frankie, it's no good telling us, mate. We would take Lukonga on loan. Lukaku, sorry, on loan. I definitely would, because I think he would be able to do a job for us up front. But Arteta won't do it. It's not his type of player. Terry says, who's the Fulham guy up front? He would be ideal to bring off the bench.
Mitrovic, yeah.
Mitrovic, he would be, yeah. But it'd be ideal for us as fans. We would love that. But Frankie says there, great call, Ivan. Yeah, Ivan. I was saying Ivan Toney a year ago.
Yeah,
more than
we've been talking about him for ages. I think he's made for Arsenal. I think, like the way he plays, he's kind of built for us. I think. It's going to be interesting what happens with him when his band's over. So, I mean, like you said, get him now, yeah.
So Terry says, I think we should snap up Tony now, ready for January. Exactly, yeah. Get him now. He can adapt in training, can't he, to the way that he needs to play for us.
He's not allowed to train though, is he? That's the problem.
I think he can in September though, can't he?
It's September, yeah. He can start training again in September, 3 months before it ends.
So he's got time to adapt, to adjust, train and stuff like that. We're ready to go in January. So I would have done that, but obviously we're not going to, are we? I think that's obvious. Frankie says, I've no problem with Havertz because there's a player there that can perform, but he ain't going to score double figures. No, he probably won't. It has to be personal with Balogun. 100%. I think it's most of the players that haven't worked out at Arsenal. I think it's personal, actually. It's a little bit to do with their inability to carry out Arteta's orders, which has then made it become personal, hasn't it? I think that's what's happened. That's what it looks like. But yeah, I mean, Arteta's Arteta, isn't he? And I think that's, so many players have sung his praises of how great a coach he is, how great a manager he is with them. And they've been the players that it's worked out with. I'm pretty sure all the other players that have played for under Arteta for Arsenal that haven't worked out will have a totally different idea of what how Arteta's management style is, and that's just football, isn't it? If you get picked every week, you're happy and you love the manager, you love your teammates, you love everything. As soon as you get left out of the team and you're not playing, you think the manager's an idiot and you want to go and play somewhere else. That tends to be the way it goes, unless you're getting paid 200 grand a week to sit on the bench. Some players are happy doing that, aren't they?
Exactly.
Wayne agrees with us. He says we ain't getting a striker, I guarantee it. Maybe another attacker, as we've only paid 3 million for our. Yeah, we were saying that before. I don't know if you was in at the beginning, but Adam was talking about the the 3 possible options as to why we've got David Raya on loan. One of them being we're keeping money aside for this new other signing, which would make sense, wouldn't it? Or it might just be a financial fair play issue, wouldn't it? Frankie says, love the show, guys. Oh, hang on, I've had something cut on my screen. Let's go back to that now. What does it say? He says, love the show, guys. I'm a first time sending my thoughts and messages. Love your views on 50-year-old school clock end. Oh, brilliant. We love the clock end and all. Good to have you on board, my friend. Don't forget to subscribe as well. We look forward to. You've made some great comments. Good to have you on board with us. Terry says, Richard, can't snap up Havertz to be the Adam and Steve show. He'll need a job by November, but he won't need a job by November. He'll be perfectly fine at playing for Arsenal.
Don't worry about that.
He's gonna be great. But yeah, I mean, overall, then pre-season was mixed for me, but experimental to a certain degree, so that's fine. The Community Shield was okay. We played okay. We came back well at the end, got the win. Brilliant. We got a little trophy to run around Wembley with, which is always nice. But the real thing starts on Saturday, Adam. Nottingham Forest at home. What are we thinking? I mean, it's a nice game to start the season with, let's be honest. The home game against
midday kickoff, half 12.
We won 5-0 last year. What are you thinking?
I mean, Forest have only signed 3 players this year. I mean, that's like literally a very small fraction of what they signed last season for a start.
It is, yeah.
So we will know what we're coming up against. That's the good thing. With the greatest respect to Forest, I'm not too concerned because I think going by last season, for instance, we come out the blocks going like away at Palace. We 2-0. We played really well that night. And at home, we were scoring goals. I do think we'll win. I don't really see Forest putting up too much of a fight. Be interesting if Matt Turner plays. Obviously, he has signed in time apparently to make his debut. That'll be interesting. Yeah, and knowing our luck, he'll have an absolute worldie, won't he? He'll have an absolute worldie against us. But I do think we'll win. I don't necessarily think it'll be like a 5-0 like last year, but I'll take a 2 or 3-0. I just think we'll be too strong for them. I think the fans will be bang up for it. I think we're going to go into the season positive and get a good. I'd like to see a clean sheet. That's the thing. I'd like to see a clean sheet and a couple of goals. If Havertz, for instance, could score, get his season up and running, boost his morale, that would be great. I'm more interested in seeing how we line up, like we said earlier, about how we, not necessarily the players, but how they are position. That's going to be the real interesting thing for me, because you see the team sheet an hour before kickoff. It's not really going to tell you much about where they're going to play, so I'm quite interested in that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting back to the Emirates. It seems like it's been a long while since I was last there. So can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, the first game of the season is always special, isn't it? I like the first game of the season because everybody starts on the same. Everyone's on the same points, the same goals. Yeah. And you're all starting afresh, aren't you? And I do think it's important to start the season well, particularly because we didn't finish last season particularly well. I think it's important that we do start well. And, Nottingham Forest at home, if you could pick a game to start a season with, you probably would have picked a game like that, wouldn't we? Let's be honest. At home to a team at the bottom end of the table or one of the promoted teams or something like that. That's who you'd pick, wouldn't you? So we certainly have to be happy with the way the fixtures have gone. And that means nothing if we don't win the game, obviously. But I agree, it'd be nice to get a clean sheet, and it'd be nice to get a couple of goals, 2 or 3 goals would be nice, wouldn't it? Start the season well, and it's something to build on, isn't it? Which is what we say. Frankie says, I'm with you, Adam, clean sheets are crucial. Yeah, I think at home as well, last season, we didn't keep many clean sheets, did we? For some reason. We had a lot of clean sheets away from home. At home, we always seem to concede a daft goal or so, didn't we? So that's something we need to improve this season. I think all round, actually, I think we let in, was it 43 goals or 45 goals or something in the Premier League last season?
Way too much. Yeah.
If you're going to win the league, you can't let in more than 35, 36 goals, really. That's the maximum you should concede if you want to win the league. So we conceded too many last year. So we need to improve that. And at home was where we conceded most of the goals. So that's a big area. So yeah, start of a clean sheet would be fantastic. And it would be nice if Matt Turner does play, let's hope we don't get a penalty, because he's quite good at saving penalties.
He's a good penalty save, yeah. So
and he'll know all our players where they're going to put, whoever takes it, whether it's Saka or somebody else. Obviously we won a penalty shootout at the weekend. We didn't do too badly, but be interesting if we did get a penalty. And Frankie said there, Rich, who do you think we will sign and what do we need? Well, those two questions are slightly different, aren't they? Who do I think we'll sign isn't necessarily who I think we need, because I think we need a striker, a goal-scoring striker, but we're not going to get one, are we? I'd like to see us buy one, obviously. I think I would like to see maybe a little bit more of a defensive midfield player, because I don't think we've got a lot of attacking midfield players. I know Declan Rice may well drop a bit deeper, and Thomas Partey, but if Thomas Partey was to get injured, as he tends to do, I think we would be short. And I think we need somebody who can be a replacement for Thomas Partey, who can play that sort of a role. And that would be my priority now. And we're not going to buy a striker. That would be my priority. And obviously, we got the goalkeeper I wanted, so I'll be quite happy with that. What about you, Adam? Who do you think we need, and who do you think we'll sign?
Again, I still think like we've all said, I think we need another striker. Or someone who can cover for Saka. Marquinhos has gone. that's the area I think is possibly more obvious. Now Marquinhos has been let go on loan. That would, for me, I think we'll buy another right-sided attacker, a right winger, purely because why would he have let him go? I'm just looking at it logically.
He
So
went
I'd
on
like.
loan last season, didn't he? He went on loan last season. We didn't have anyone else.
That is true. I don't know. I mean, if you're going to buy someone in that position, they've got to know they're coming in for backup. They've got to know they're coming in for backup for Saka. That's the difficult, and I think that's the difficult why we're not kind of finding anyone, because everyone knows Saka has got his place. He's cemented it. Unless he gets injured, that's his role. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you about the defensive midfielder, because obviously Saka's gone, even though he played more as an advanced player last year. Partey, I like Partey. I thought when he was on Song last year, he was untouchable. But there were a lot of mistakes that did creep in. And when he's on a bad day, he has a very bad day.
He does.
I don't really know who's out there. I can't, there's not really people. I mean, so I say, though, Brighton, I think, would have been ideal. I would have loved to have got him, but he's way more expensive than what we can afford now, than what we've paid so far. So that's out of the question. But he would have been the kind of player I would have liked. So, yeah, I mean, I do think we need a striker, but I still think we're going to get some sort of right attacking midfielder.
I mean, yeah, that wouldn't be a bad signing if we did, because, like you said, I mean, Saka is undroppable, isn't he? Let's be honest. And unless he gets injured, he's going to play every game pretty much. So it's difficult to get someone in that position, but you need someone because he could get injured. He's played so many games in the last 3 seasons that you always worry every single game when he gets kicked. Is he going to be out for 6 weeks? And yeah, we don't really have a natural replacement, I suppose. I don't know, really. I mean, Reece Nelson, if he's fit, can potentially play there.
I mean, obviously, there's a place if we've got him a new contract, so I definitely think we'll be seeing him in the squads. And he obviously, he had some great performances when he came on last year. But again, he doesn't seem to want to give him that starting or that full game time. So it's a weird. I like Reece Nelson. I always have done, actually.
Yeah.
And maybe he will be that player to take over when Saka needs a rest. I hope he does.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It would. Loki says it'll be Martinelli's year, stronger game by game. It may well be Martinelli's year. I mean, he progressed a lot last season, didn't he, with the goals that he scored and stuff like that. So yeah, it may well be his year. Let's hope so, because that would be nice, wouldn't it? Terry says, do you think Jesus will be an asset this season or spend most of it out with his recurring knee injury? Yeah, that's an issue. We don't know, do we? We don't know how bad an injury that's going to be. And how much of a part that's going to play on his season. Let's hope it doesn't have an impact unless we're buying someone else. I think it's going to be important that he can be fit, but we'll see. Frankie says, do you think Arteta can keep this squad happy with competition for place? Well, that's always an issue, isn't it? It's difficult, isn't it? No, it's hard to keep everybody happy, and there's going to be players that are going to be left out of the team that won't be happy. That's life, isn't it? And that's his job, isn't it? His job as manager is to manage the players that he's got, manage the squad. That's what he's got to do. And that involves trying to keep people as happy as they can. So when they play, they can do the job they need to do. And that's his job to do that. Russ says Kudus is an option indeed. There's been speak of him, but isn't he going to Brighton?
He's gone to Brighton, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to Brighton. So I think that ship maybe have sailed, it looks like. Frankie says, what's your views on Pepe? Harshly treated, could have been given game time pre-season. No, I agree. He could have been given game time pre-season, but again, he's another one that doesn't fit in with Arteta's plans, and we're going to end up losing a lot of money on him by the look of it. Has he been good enough when he's played? Has he been consistent enough? No, probably not. But he's a player that could come in and do a job. He's done a job for plenty of times, scored goals, hasn't he? So, Russ says against Forest, who do you start up front? Eddie, Trossard or Havertz? I believe it's going to be Havertz. None of them are strikers, really, are they? Eddie's just Eddie, and Trossard and Havertz are more of a floater, aren't they? A false nine, if you want to call it that. So, I think it'll be Havertz. What do you think, Adam? Do you think Havertz?
I think it will be Havertz. I mean, what I've been liking to see for ages would be Martinelli go down the middle and play Trossard out on the left. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
That is what I'd like to see. Saka on the right, Trossard the left, Martinelli up front. But it won't happen. I still think Martinelli could do a good job down the centre. I think when he first come into the team, he played through the centre and he looked great. So that for me is what I'd like, but I don't think it will happen.
No, I don't either. I think it will be Havertz, and let's hope that he does well and gets a goal or two. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Terry says Trossard all day, Russ. Havertz can sit and hold holding an Eddie's hand. Well, no, I don't think that's going to happen, is it? Frankie says Trossard false nine with Martinelli swapping. Yeah, I mean that worked last season, didn't it? There was when Jesus was out. You know, he's that's how they played, didn't they? Trossard and Martinelli switching positions quite a lot, and it looked good. But for some reason, it's not happened, has it, since? So I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, let's see what happens. Let's see what Arteta goes with. I think it'll be Havertz. I think it'll be the same team pretty much that started against Man City, if I'm honest. I don't think there'll be too many changes from that. I think that'll be the team. And it should be good enough to beat Forest, let's be honest. Any 11 that we put out should be good enough to beat Forest at home. No disrespect to Nottingham Forest. But we'll see. I mean, just before we finish, Adam, obviously for the season, what are your predictions for where do you think Arsenal are going to finish this season?
So my predictions are going to be pretty much similar to what they were last year. Am I more positive than I was last year? Yeah, I am, based on last season, obviously. But I still don't think we're going to win the league. I do think top three, though, not just top four, but I do think top three is definitely there. I'd like to get at least to the last 8 of the Champions League. I think that's a minimum, got to be a minimum target for us. I still would like a cup. FA Cup would be nice. I want to challenge again. It'd be lovely to challenge again and sustain it, at least till, even though we're only 5 points clear with 5 games to go, everyone knew we were kind of done and dusted. It would be nice to have a real challenge and sustain it. Obviously, I'm hopeful for more, but yeah, I'd say top 3, last 8 of the Champions League and an FA Cup. That'll do me.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I couldn't really go far different to that. I mean, I think this season I think first and foremost, we're in a battle for the top 4. I think that's where we've got to assume that we are. If we can challenge for the title on top of that, then brilliant. That would be fantastic. And obviously this time, hopefully, if we get ourselves in a strong position, we can actually see it through. Not necessarily, we can't guarantee winning it, but seeing it through to the last day at least, or pushing City a lot harder at the end than we managed to do. Yeah. Or, I personally think we've just got to try and get in that top 4 again. It's so important that we do. So that to me is the aim. Do I think we'll do it? Yes, I think we'll finish top 4. I'm thinking maybe 3rd, 2nd or 3rd, but more likely 3rd is what I'm thinking. And I think the reason for that will be Champions League. I think that's going to test their resources. I think, we're only 1 or 2 injuries as things stand in the squad, 1 or 2 key injuries away from having a few issues and a few struggles. So I'll go 3rd, a decent run and everything else, a decent Champions League one. Yeah, last 8 would be great. We haven't got to the last 8 of the Champions League for a long, long time, have we? Probably 10 years or more.
It's been a long while.
Yeah, that would be nice. Obviously, winning 1 of the 2 cups, domestic cups, would be great. Trophies at Wembley are nice, aren't they? So, yeah, I would be happy with all of that. Do I think we'll do it? I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. I'm hoping top 3, decent run in Europe, and a domestic cup, the FA Cup, obviously preferably. But if it means the only trophy we get is the Carabao Cup, I'll take that than nothing. So I'll be happy enough with it. We want to see progress this season. The only thing we can really progress on, having finished 2nd last year, unless we win the league, which again I don't think we will be to win a trophy, wouldn't it? It's top 4 and a trophy. That's an improvement on last season. That's really the only way we can improve, isn't it? Exactly. Top 4 and a trophy. Yeah. So let's do that. Whatever trophy it is, we'll have it, won't we? We're not really that bothered. Frankie says, yes, Adam, top 3 and quarters Champions League, and with the size of the squad, take the domestic cups seriously. 100%. It's all about exactly 100%. Yeah, 100% agree with you. You're 100%. Yeah, we can take it seriously this year because we should have the squad to be able to. Even if we rest players for the domestic cups, we still should be able to put out a strong team that can beat most teams in whoever we play. So yeah, let's do it. Let's get a trophy on that board. Mikel Arteta, this is your year, mate. To start. You've got to start somewhere, and your next step is to win a trophy for Arsenal this season. You've got to, I think, with the money that we've spent, the progress that we've made, it's a trophy. Let's do it. One of those 4 trophies. Obviously, the Premier League will be fantastic. The Champions League will be amazing. But the FA Cup will be pretty good, and the Carabao Cup will do. So there you go. There's your options there, and top 4, obviously, and top 4 as well.
We'll take that. We'll take that.
And for Saturday, your score prediction. What did you say? Did you say 3-0?
3-0.
3-0, yeah. 3-0 was good. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe 2-0. It might be a little bit cagey first game. And if Matt Turner plays, he'll have a storm and he'll save everything. And it may only be 2-0. But we'll win. We're definitely going to win. Russ says he's already won a trophy. No, he hasn't, Russ. Stop sounding like Tottenham and their Audi Cup. He hasn't won a trophy. We won a little friendly shield. That's all it was. We're going to win a proper trophy in the next 9 months anyway, definitely. So it's going to be good. Anyway, that was our first Arsenal review show of the season. And moving forward throughout the season, what was going to happen is it's going to be slightly different in the fact that Adam, who's been great tonight, is going to actually be hosting the show going forward. So that's going to be exciting. Looking forward to doing that.
Oh, completely, yeah. So, yeah, obviously we've done the social show last year, a lot of fun and frolic. So looking forward to doing some more serious stuff. But knowing me, there'll probably be some lighter touches along the way as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to just getting back to talking about Arsenal to people other than my wife and children who are just bored to stiff of me talking about Arsenal. So yeah, looking forward to it. It doesn't seem like that long in one respect that the season finished, but again, it does seem like an age. It's a weird one. Because you've had so much football still over the summer, it's not really been away from it. But physically going to the Emirates, I've really missed. So, yeah, looking forward to getting back to a bit of normality on Saturday.
Yeah, no, it's good. We always like the start of the season, don't we? It's great. So, yeah, it's going to be good. Obviously, the show's going to be good as well. So, definitely tune in. It's going to be on a Tuesday generally going forward. This week, there was a few issues and stuff, so we did it today. But going forward, it'll be on a Tuesday, and it'll be Adam in control, taking you through the Arsenal review. In the meantime, I'll be back on, when am I back? Saturday, well, we're back Saturday night to look back on the England Lionesses World Cup quarter-final against Colombia, hopefully a victory we'll be looking at, and we'll do some stuff on the Nottingham Forest game as well. And then, of course, next week we'll have the review show. Hopefully we'll have more Lionesses stuff if we stay in the tournament. That'll be good. So stay with us for all of that. And of course, now the Premier League has started, we're going to be doing a load more stuff on Arsenal, aren't we, going forward? And, of course, once the women's season starts on the women as well. Frankie has said there, thanks, guys, great content. No, thank you very much for tuning in, my friend. We look forward to seeing you again. Terry says, come on, Adam, I still can't believe you lasted this long being serious. Well, he's
I've only had one can of beer, Terry. That's probably why.
It's because Steve's a bad influence. That's what it is. Without Steve, he can behave himself.
He'll be back next week. Don't worry.
Yeah, of course he will. Wayne says, I want the Prem. Wayne, we all want the Prem, my friend. It's been, 20 years? Well, it will be 20 years this year, won't it, since we last won it. So we all want the Prem, but we can hope and pray, can't we? But let's have a look and see. Russ says, cheers, Ella. Thank yourself, my friend, for watching. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Yeah,
don't forget to give us a like. I'll be back on Saturday, of course, the start of the Premier League season, the World Cup quarter-final, England-Colombia as well. That's going to be good, isn't it? Loads of great football coming up. As we move into the start of the season. Terry says, great show, Richard and Adam, and all in the chat. And yourself, mate, yeah, take it easy. We'll see you soon. Hopefully Saturday, if you're around on Saturday, come and join us for some more great stuff looking at Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, and also, I say, the Lionesses against Colombia. So lots of stuff coming up. Thanks to Adam, as always, for being a part of the channel, and we look forward to Adam's show next week as well. That's going to be good. So definitely tune in for that one. And we will see you very soon. In the meantime, of course, come on, you Gunners. Let's start the season with 3 big points. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it. See you later, guys.
Nice one, mate. Cheers for that. It was good.